In the spring of 1970, a car appeared at the Geneva Auto Show that nobody expected. It wasn't Italian, it wasn't German, it wasn't British, it was Swiss, painted in a colour called purple smoke, with a 7-litre American V8 wedged behind the seats and a name that translated to one word, shark. It was built by a man whose entire career had been a slow-burning act of revenge against Enzo Ferrari. 49 were planned. 2 were built. Only 1 was ever sold, and the man who created it would spend the rest of his life trying to prove it should have changed everything. This is the Monteverdi Hai 450 SS. Chassis TNT 101. Built in Binningen, Switzerland, a quiet suburb on the southern edge of Basel, in a workshop that doubled as a luxury car dealership. The body was shaped by Trevor Fiore of Carrozzeria Fissore, the same Italian coach builder responsible for some of the most elegant shapes of the late 1960s. The proportions echo the Di Tommaso Mangusta, low, wide, predatory, but the Hai carried something the Mangusta never did. A 426 cubic inch Chrysler Hemi. The same engine that was destroying drag strips and dominating NASCAR ovals across America, repositioned longitudinally behind the cockpit of a bespoke Swiss supercar. Twin Carter 4-barrel carburetors, 450 horsepower at 5,000 revolutions per minute, 490 pound-feet of torque. All of it fed through a ZF 5-speed manual transaxle with a limited slip differential. The chassis was a custom steel tube frame, double wishbone front suspension with adjustable Coney dampers, a Didion rear axle, the same unit from Monteverdi's front engine 375 high speed, paired with a Watts linkage, trailing arms and coils, a TE vented disc brakes at all 4 corners, inboard at the rear. This may be the only mid-engine car in history to have used recirculating ball steering. It shouldn't have worked. But Peter Monteverdi wasn't building to convention. He was building to make a point. Peter Monteverdi was born in 1934 in Binningen. His father ran a garage and truck repair business. Between the ages of 16 and 18, Peter built his first car, a special constructed from the remains of a wrecked 1949 Fiat. He wasn't interested in fixing trucks. He wanted to race. After his father's death in 1956, Monteverdi took over the family business at 22 and transformed it into a luxury car dealership. Through the late 1950s, he competed in approximately 80 events across Europe. Hill climbs, endurance races, even the Nürburgring 1,000 kilometers. He was fast, he was fearless, and he was obsessed with Ferrari. In 1957, he secured the Swiss franchise for Ferrari, becoming the youngest official Ferrari importer in the world. He expanded to Lancia, to Jensen, to Rolls-Royce and Bentley. He built a showroom in Binningen with private apartments on the upper floors and, in a touch that only Peter Monteverdi would think of, kept a flock of flamingos on the rooftop terrace. He even built racing cars under his own name, the MBM Mark, culminating in Switzerland's first Formula One car, which debuted at the non-championship 1961 Solitude Grand Prix. A subsequent crash at Hockenheim nearly killed him and ended his driving career for good, but the relationship with Maranello was always volatile. According to some accounts, Monteverdi had wanted to drive for the Scuderia. Enzo dismissed him. That was the first wound. Then came the killing blow. Enzo Ferrari demanded that Monteverdi purchase 100 new Ferraris and pay for them up front to retain his import license. Monteverdi refused and lost the franchise. It was the kind of insult that could have ended a career. Instead, it started one. Like Ferruccio Lamborghini before him, another man scorned by Enzo. Monteverdi decided the best revenge was to build his own car, something that would embarrass Ferrari on every level. In 1967, the Monteverdi High Speed 375S debuted at the Frankfurt Motor Show. It was the first Swiss-made car presented in 3 decades. Italian bodywork, by Pietro Frua, a Chrysler 440 V8, delivering 375 horsepower, elegant, powerful, and more expensive than a Ferrari Daytona. The reviews were glowing, but for Peter Monteverdi, the high speed was only phase one. He didn't want to compete with Ferrari in the Grand Touring market. He wanted to destroy them in the supercar market. He wanted to build the fastest, most radical mid-engine car in the world. And he wanted to do it from a suburb of Basel using an American muscle car engine. That car was the Hai. The name said everything. Hai, German for shark. 450, the target horsepower, SS. Super Sports, denoting the shorter wheelbase variant. Trevor Fiori's body was a masterwork of restrained aggression. Just 40 inches tall, pop-up headlights, a low, tapering nose that earned the shark designation without trying. The rear was blunt, rounded, purposeful, like a fist wrapped in magenta paint. Underneath that body, Monteverdi made choices that no other mid-engine manufacturer would have considered. Where Ferrari and Lamborghini were developing exotic 12-cylinder engines, Monteverdi took a 7-litre cast-iron pushrod V8 from Detroit and made it the centerpiece. It was a deliberate provocation. The Hemi was powerful, bulletproof, and easy to maintain, the opposite of the delicate, high-strung engines coming out of Italy. And with nearly 500 pound-feet of torque, arriving at 4,000 RPM, it delivered a driving experience that was visceral in a way no Italian V12 could match. Peter Monteverdi claimed a top speed of 180 miles per hour, 0 to 60 in under 5 seconds, a quarter mile in 13 seconds flat. Those were extraordinary numbers for 1970, numbers that would have put the Hai on par with anything from Maranello or Sant'Agata. But then the car was tested. Paul Frere, the legendary Belgian racing driver turned journalist, writing for Road and Track, put the Hai through its paces. The result was sobering, 0 to 62 miles per hour in 6.9 seconds. Top speed, 168 miles per hour. Respectable numbers, but nowhere near the factory claims. The problem was weight. Monteverdi's factory specification claimed a curb weight of 2,750 pounds. The real number, measured by Automobile Review in 1970, was 3,871 pounds, over 1,100 pounds heavier than advertised. The Hemi was enormous. The Chrysler drivetrain components were heavy. The steel tube chassis was robust, but dense. And the Didion rear axle, borrowed directly from the front engine 375 high speed, added mass that a purpose-built mid-engine car would never have carried. The Hai was fast, but it wasn't the world beater Peter Monteverdi had promised. When the Hai 450 SS debuted at the 1970 Geneva Auto Show, it drew attention. Spectators gathered, journalists took notes. The car was genuinely stunning, but not a single order was placed. The list price was $27,000, roughly equivalent to $190,000 today. In 1970, that was Ferrari Daytona money, Lamborghini Miura money. And Peter Monteverdi, despite his ambition, was not Ferrari or Lamborghini. He was a car dealer from Basel with a workshop, a grudge, and a prototype. Monteverdi built a second car, the Hai 450 GTS, with a longer wheelbase, red paint, revised door handles, and improved weight distribution. Performance was marginally better, but it didn't matter. The market had already spoken. Of the 49 cars planned, only 2 originals were ever completed. In later interviews, Peter Monteverdi claimed to have delivered somewhere between 11 and 14. The actual number sold to a private customer was 1. Chassis TNT 101, the original purple smoke prototype. That car was sold in November 1971 to Karl-Heinz Schuberth. It traded hands across Europe, before landing with Norbert McNamara, who had it restored at Fiesole, repainted copper, and shipped it to the United States. In the late 1980s, it was restored to its original purple smoke specification, white interior, chrome glass surrounds, and appeared at the 1989 Pebble Beach Concours d'Elegance. In 2006, a new owner commissioned a full concours-level restoration. The Hai returned to Pebble Beach and placed third in class, with one pop-up headlight stuck shut. It sold at Bonham's Retromobile auction in 2010 for €398,000. 2 years later, at Gooding & Company's Pebble Beach auction, it brought $577,500. The two replicas Monteverdi built from spare parts in the 1990s now reside in the Swiss Museum of Transport in Lucerne. The GTS sits there with them. Chassis TNT 101, the original, the only one, is somewhere in private hands. The sole Hemi-powered Hai ever sold to a customer. Peter Monteverdi tried again. In 1992, he unveiled the Hai 650 F1, a road-going supercar incorporating technology from his brief involvement with the Onyx Formula One team. Monteverdi claimed 6 were sold. The verifiable number, as with the original Hai, was far lower. The pattern repeated itself. Monteverdi died of cancer in 1998 at 64. The factory in Binningen became a museum in 1985. It closed its doors in December 2016. The collection was transferred to the Swiss Museum of Transport in Lucerne. The story of the Hai 450 SS is not a story of failure. It's a story of what happens when ambition outpaces infrastructure, when the vision is right, but the ecosystem doesn't exist to support it. Peter Monteverdi understood something that most of his contemporaries didn't. He understood that a mid-engine supercar could be built around an American V8, that raw displacement and reliability could replace exotic complexity. It was the same thesis that had already driven the Ford GT40, that would define the De Tomaso Pantera a year later, and that would ultimately underpin the modern American supercar movement. He was building from a suburb of Basel, with a staff that could fit in an elevator, and the world wasn't ready for it. The Hai 450 SS is not the rarest car in the world because of some manufacturing anomaly or a factory fire. It's rare because the world wasn't ready for it. A Swiss car dealer, furious at Enzo Ferrari, built a mid-engine Hemi-powered supercar in his workshop and showed it to the world. The world looked at it, nodded politely, and walked away. One built, one sold, one left. The Purple Shark.